I'm not gonna dox this player, give his name out, but basically I had one player who he was catching a lot of heat just because certain ways he was presenting himself. And I was like, man, this guy just wants to play the game, and he wasn't hurting anyone. The thing is though that their whole stance is, oh yeah, your beliefs hurt our way of life, and it's like no. And it's like, whether you agree with that or not, I'm not going to give my stance on that. But the fact is, at this tournament that I'm hosting, we're here to play Tekken.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Anti-Oki Podcast, where we welcome rational conversation. I am Mr. Behavior. He is C-Los. What is going on, man?
What's going on? You guys ready?
Yeah. Well, it's Easter. It's Easter Sunday as we record this. So happy Easter, y'all.
Yeah, happy Easter.
Yeah, likewise.
And today we have welcomed a special guest. This guy is he's a TO. I think you're in Austin, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, Austin, Texas.
And we're very welcome, warm welcome. Everybody say hello to Blåshphęmöûsblk.
Yes.
What is going on? The crowd goes wild.
The crowd goes wild, Oh yeah. Oh, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man. We wanted to have you on because I know you mentioned to us via Twitter that you kind of had some disagreements. Yeah, we wanted to be able to bridge this gap, because the whole reason why we wanted to start this podcast in the first place was we feel that the FGC has not become a place for people to actually discuss their ideas, and it's become very, very one way, and it's kind of
collectivist.
Yeah, it's kind of alienating us, and we felt like we had to do this. So before we get into the nitty gritty, tell everybody a little bit about you, what games you play, all that kind of stuff, your history within the FGC.
Yeah, so I've been around for a while. I've always played casually, just like all the stories you always hear, someone playing in some arcade in California or whatever. I wasn't taking it serious though, but when I got out to Arizona, it's when I started taking the game more seriously, and I really got into Tekken there. On Street Fighter 4 at the time, so I'm kind of like I guess by definition, I guess I'm an 09er, but if you asked me, I'd say I kind of started in 07.
For sure.
I just was bad. Then I started getting the commentary and stuff, and things happened. I moved out here to Austin, and then playing at the local out here, and commentating out here, and eventually I decided that when they started doing dojos, that's when our venue, we needed a bigger place, so I ran a dojo, and it was one of the largest dojo events in Texas. So
nice,
pretty good. Yeah,
nice,
it was
cool,
a great event. And that's only because, and I'm not throwing shade, that's only because of a slip up with Texas Showdown, but I stole it from them.
Oh, gotcha.
The rival city. But
cool, man. All right, so who's your main in Tekken? Tell us.
Kazuya.
Oh,
yes,
nice.
sir.
All right, so you're a little bit of a badass then.
Yeah, you gotta be, man. To play that guy, there's only live and die by the sword, man.
Hey, man, you survived getting thrown off a mountain, so I guess you gotta be pretty tough for that.
That's how I feel sometimes. It's hard out here.
I feel like your background resonates with me a lot, because I started I was an 09er too, 010 Street Fighter 4 kind of days, back in back in the OG spooky days with with people posting the Bible dumps in chat. It was a long ass time ago, but that's where I kind of got in. And it's I wasn't really that involved with the community. It was more so kind of watching entertainment from an entertainment standpoint, and playing with my buddies. And we were all really bad, but we were just really into the competitive scene, just watching it. And then over the years, maybe
really
around Street Fighter,
trying to get good,
Yeah, exactly. And then Street Fighter 5 came out, and that's when I got involved. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all sort of 09ers. I didn't start going to tournaments until after Street Fighter 4 came out, but I've been playing, fighting games since I was a little kid, you know what I mean? But I didn't realize there was a broader community. Street Fighter 4 kind of made me realize that there was a broader community, and especially because of the internet and stuff. So I think by definition, we're all sort of that.
Right.
But cool. So now we know each other a little bit. We're friends. Now we need to get into the nitty gritty. So I know you mentioned on Twitter that you had some stuff that you disagreed with us on, some of the old topics that we had. So I wanted you to come on and just kind of bring that stuff up and ask us some questions, all that stuff. I mean, we talk about data stuff all the time. We also record these things prior. So but when everybody's listening to this, it ain't Easter anymore. So it's all good.
Yeah, no, exactly. And let me start here. So I know that like I say dated topics, and it's just because I can't really recall everything, that was on my mind, but
sure.
I have a good generalization of kind of the key points I wanted to bring up. So I'm gonna bring those up. And yeah, man, you already answered some of my questions, but I did have another one that I wanted to point to you. So I'm just good to go ahead and kind of start here. So yeah, I definitely, the way I saw you guys when I looked at it, right? Because I deal with this out here in Texas as a TO. What I saw is I felt like a political stance being taken. And you mentioned your reason for it, but would I be wrong in saying, tell me if this statement feels true to you? Do you feel as if, because you guys seem to hold kind of more right-wing type of beliefs, or what some people say conservative, would you say that you feel like the FGC is slowly trying to remove people like you or force you guys out of the community?
We think so.
Let's talk first.
Yeah. So like the thing is, because I kind of got in around 2017, and this wasn't really as apparent as I see it now. Like 2017 was kind of like a time where like, I mean, maybe this is where I kind of started off, but like this kind of like this, I kind of see it as like, kind of like a battle of ideas on social media and whatnot. And I think like 2017, I didn't really notice this till like maybe 2018, 2019, really on social media. So I've kind of noticed, because like our Twitter, like that's what we share, but we don't have personal Twitters. But there was one point when I did, and one of the reasons I removed the personal Twitter was because I felt like there was this like very clear divide between like I guess kind of like the woke side and kind of everybody else. That's kind of how I see it. It's kind of the woke and everybody else, and everybody else includes like myself, like more so like very right leaning and conservative, but also like kind of center and kind of people who don't really care about it.
Yeah, like I agree with the conservatives on some stuff, but I would consider myself more center right.
Yeah, and I kind of see that I've seen this like brewing over the years, and it's kind of got into like a boiling point where if like myself and Mr. Behavior come out and talk about the things we talk about, it's kind of starts this battle, and you kind of see like you kind of saw with our how people took our clips, and then it kind of like a mob came after us.
Yeah,
it's really interesting, because I don't think that would have happened like 3 or 4 years ago. I think it would have just been like whoever they're talking to, kind of back and forth, and like that's kind of it. I didn't really see this kind of viral like mob back and forth. So I think now in terms of like removing, I think like banning people like LTG and F-Champ are kind of like indicators of that. Like they're trying to remove a certain group of like even if it doesn't even matter if they believe, because I don't necessarily think F-Champ and LTG are really right leaning at all. They just have like certain opinions on certain topics, but they group them with people like who share ideas and just try to get rid of us from tournaments and whatnot. So I do feel like they're trying to do that.
Yeah. Well, from my perspective. Go ahead. I'll let you.
I was gonna say it might be just a small insert here. It might be like a 2-part thing, right? Like you feel it's right-wing people are often the people who have the stance of kind of freedom of speech and things like that, and you don't like the censorship. And then it's also that these people who you're mentioning, like LTG and Filipino Champ, they don't really present themselves that way, but they're just also in this group that apparently they're trying to weed out.
Right. Well, so it's creating a boogeyman and assigning people to that position of the boogeyman without really like examining what they're doing. And the reason why I would say it started to get to me was I'm studying game design, and I'm like build games and do things like that, right? And so even like within the world of video games as a whole, this is where I started to notice it, where Gamergate happened, and I realized that I didn't agree that it was about sexism, right? I didn't think that it was about sexism. At the time, I was very, very left-leaning, you would say, right? Mostly by default, I'm Black. Most Black people just default that way, right? Now, the thing about that is I remember seeing what happened with Gamergate and what happened with Zoe Quinn or whatever, and being like, this sounds like it's about journalism and ethics in journalism, and getting bullied by people who were gamers, who were my friends, into like admitting or saying or agreeing with their idea that it was about sexism. Like I had some crazy arguments about this. And this is when I started to notice this in gaming. And then with Twitter, to Silos's point, with Twitter, when I did have a personal Twitter, whenever I would try to engage with, FGC stuff, I would always see that a lot of it was coming from very one-sided ideological perspectives. And when I would try to engage on that, then I would get reminded of that time when I got bullied about Gamergate. And so this started to really bother me because I was like these games, this community, for me, it's fun because I get to go and talk to people about fighting games, and I get to go to be with people who actually care about, technique in a very niche genre of video game that I've been playing since I was a little kid. Again, I didn't know that there was a broader community until like 2009, right? And when I discovered that, I was like, okay, this is great. I get to talk to people about these things. And now there's all of these things that don't have anything to do with fighting games that are being seeped in and put on top of it. It's almost like a prerequisite for being a part of the community. That's the part that bothers me. So to answer your question about whether or not I feel like they're trying to remove people like me, I don't know if it's necessarily people like me. It's just people who don't share an ideology, right? Because there are people like Silas and I, we could probably find a million things we disagree with too. Right. What we do agree on is that this should be about fighting games, not anything else.
That's what it was. What I mean?
And so that's kind of where I stand on that.
Yeah. So you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So that was another one of the points I wanted to bring up, man, is so the reason I asked you about that right wing thing is because if that's what you're doing, which you didn't directly say that was it, but I'm just tying it back to my point, was, so thank you for clarifying your stance. Is my thing is that I think a space for people, and we're not going to get about the conservative, but just your views and certain opinions that you guys hold. I think people who have your opinions and views need a place, because it's like you said, you go here, you get bullied. And the reason I say I think you guys need a place is before people try to cancel or kill me because you agree with them. It's like, no,
they're gonna do that anyway. I'm telling you right now.
They're
gonna do that anyway.
The thing about me is that I'm uncancelable, and let me explain. And
sure. That's what's up, man. I like that.
Yeah, that's truly my.
That's how we feel, man.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you gonna? I mean, like whatever. You're not gonna.
Right.
Go ahead.
So the thing is that I don't fully agree with you guys on things, but you mentioned the idea of it should be about gaming, and that kind of comes down to one of the things that I didn't agree with. Like you had mentioned, who determines who's in the FGC? Like when you were throwing out people, like, who is this person? Like, who is this person? And, just like you said, I come from arcades and stuff, for me, who's in the FGC is if you put a quarter into the machine and you play the game, you play the game.
Yeah.
So like, and, I'm not here to like, listen to, your political views or anything. Like, I understand how people feel that those things are important. So that's the thing. Like, I respect that people feel those things are important, but right now we're here to play the game.
Right. That's right. So that's what I'm saying. Right.
Yeah.
So we do agree.
Yeah, that's what I said. There's things I agree with, but there's things I disagree with. Right. So like, that's what I agree with. Is I agree with the thing is that we're here to play the game.
Yeah.
And like, that's what we should do.
Right.
And those are some of my favorite streamers. Like the people who they don't get involved with the drama and they don't take a side, they're not championing. Yeah. And it's like, some people want to champion and solve things. Like, as a Black guy myself, like we deal with it all the time. There's always about awareness and stuff like that. And I agree that stuff's important, but we need to get results. And right now we're playing video games.
Right. That's right. So like, that's what I'm saying.
Like I'm saying I know my struggle. I know what I've been through. And I can tell you right now, I want results, So if we're going to talk about these things, resolve them. And I can tell you right now, when I boot up Tekken, there's not a single thing that's happening when I'm playing Tekken that is going to help the Black struggle. Right. Well, that's I don't believe that's really going to solve it.
So okay. So I'm sure that we could, myself and you, we could probably do a whole podcast about like the difference between the way that we view that. Right.
Yeah.
But that's not the point. The point is exactly what you said. If I'm here to play a video game, nothing I'm doing is going to help advance any other agenda outside of me just getting better at the game or me being a good representative of the game. And that's the whole point, right? No. Is like we're here, we come together around our love for this game. Anything outside of that should have nothing to do with, and that's where when we were watching the episode where we were watching the Vice documentary, for example.
Right.
The first half of it is fantastic because they talk about the history of the fighting game community. They talk to like Alex Valle. They talk to cool people. You know what I mean? It's like, it's really nice to see. And it kind of like gets me like a little bit emotional to see that stuff because it's like the FGC has come so far. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, that's crazy. But then the second half is like all of this, like intersectional woke nonsense that it's like, I don't agree with a lot of this stuff, first of all, but that's not even the reason why I have a problem with it. The reason I have a problem with it is because this has no place here to me.
Right.
Should have ended after the first half.
Right.
Yeah.
Right there.
So here's my thing though, right? So when it comes to where I heavily disagree is that is that you don't got to be so negative about it. Because the way I see it, man, is like you're stooping down. If you're opposed to these people, I think by being insulting to them is stooping down to their level. Like that's what I think. So for instance, I've heard your guys' views on trans people and LGBTQ that community.
Okay, so hold on. I have to say I don't like that acronym because I think that it just bunches a bunch of things together that I don't think are related. So I have separate views on those two things. So that's okay. So I have to call you out there because we got to separate those things. That's one of the points that I had to make. I don't like it when people pile things on top of each other because it makes it impossible to have the conversation about the one thing. Right.
Well, yeah. So if they're separate, that's fine. But what I meant was all the things that you guys were talking about that people were coming at your neck for, right? Mm-hmm. I felt that they're coming at your neck just because you're being negative about it. Like, for instance, if you were someone who's right-wing or stuff like that, and you don't agree with people telling you that they want you to use certain pronouns and stuff, like if you don't agree with that, they're going to try to hang you, say that's fucked up, right? But the thing is that I think what you could do is, it's like either just don't engage those people or just call them by their name if you don't want to use their pronouns, or just
that's what I do.
It's not
that's
that
actually
hard,
what I do.
What I mean. But it's just okay, that's fair. It's like, but they're coming at you because I felt like the stance you kind of took with people in some of those early videos was just very talking down on people.
Well, like, so I'm gonna address why they do that to us. 1, 2, making a mockery of it is intended to shine a light on how ridiculous some of it is. And when you shine a light on how ridiculous something is, you can embarrass somebody into not doing it anymore. So that's the strat. That's the idea. Is like if somebody.
I just want to cut in like real quick. I'll let you finish this point. I just want to mention one thing. I think whether we choose to be like kind of mocking certain people, or whether we choose to be like to talk about them in a positive light, they will come after us no matter what. This is kind of how we view it. Is like we kind of see this as like a culture war in the FGC. It's kind of like a difference of like the woke versus everybody else, and like anybody who does not align with them, they will come after, regardless if you're mean or not. And so we kind of just like unapologetic. It's like however we're thinking on our mind, we're just going to say it at this point because it doesn't matter. Their end result is the same. They're going to. And
the main issue with the it's like you said, woke versus everybody else. The main issue with that is the woke is the side of the corporations, is the side of the people who are pushing media that are that's why we watched that Vice documentary. It's very important. It's like FGC versus esports is kind of how we're saying it. Right? Like you have the people that want the FGC to be this ground up thing where everybody can come talk all the shit, do all the things that they want to do, align with the people they want to align with, do whatever, have drama, all that stuff. Listen to look at the LTGs, man. People love LTG. Why do they love LTG? Because he's wild and he just says whatever. You know what I mean? We like that. Even if he loses, it's okay. We still like him. You know what I mean?
He's the only one like that.
Yeah.
Right.
The only one left.
Right. And so that's really what it is. It's the woke versus everyone else. And if we don't say things, if we don't speak up especially for people that do agree with us, there's a lot of, we've been getting comments. We got emails from people that are like, that agree with us, that
they're just scared.
Not on everything, maybe. Yeah. But they're like center right kind of people. And they're like, yeah, a lot of this stuff is, I feel like I can't say anything because I won't be able to go to my local anymore.
Yeah,
like,
and
that sucks. Like,
yeah, and as a TO in Texas, that's the reason I brought this up, is because I try not to get into politics too hard. I try, right? Mm-hmm. But out here in Texas, right, I have a lot of people who they're conservative, right?
Yeah.
And in the FGC,
it's a red state,
there's tons of people inside the gaming community who are a part of these other communities and stuff. And I'm not gonna dox this player, give his name out, but basically I had one player who he was catching a lot of heat just because certain ways he was presenting himself. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, this guy just wants to play the game, mm-hmm. And he wasn't hurting anyone. Mm-hmm. The thing is though that their whole stance is, oh yeah, your beliefs hurt our way of life. And it's like, And it's like, whether you agree with that or not, I'm not going to give my stance on that. But the fact is, at this tournament that I'm hosting, we're here to play Tekken.
Right.
So like, that's why I say it's important that you try to create that space. But just like I told this guy, I was like, look, if you don't agree with, some of these people you see here, why do you give them these disgusting looks? And like, because he kind of provokes it himself, like by telling them, he's like, why are you dressed like that? If it's someone who's, dressing, we have like people who are in the middle of transitions, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And like he'll give them weird looks, or like, be like, make comments about them, and like, then people comment on him back. And it's like,
for sure,
if you just don't engage, man, just like, but I get what you're saying, you want to.
I hear your point about not engaging in that respect, because there's no reason to go out of your way to disrespect somebody. So I understand that where you're coming from on that.
Some conservatives do that. Like, yes. I'm conservative myself. A lot of conservatives do that.
Yeah.
It's pretty annoying. It's just like,
that's what I'm saying.
I understand that point. Totally.
I'm with that. Yeah.
Like the thing is, you can't control other people's actions. You can only control the way that you react to them.
That's true.
And so not everybody's going to have that mentality. Like you mentioned, you said about pronouns. And this is something that like I've held for a while. I don't agree with switching up weird pronouns or whatever. I don't agree with Z's or whatever. There's certain things where it's like who Blair White is, for example.
I heard you mention this person before. I'm unaware.
I
can Google
trans person.
But
I have no problem calling Blair White a she. Blair White presents as a she. That's fine. I don't have any problem calling Ricky a she for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like that's really not the issue. It's really just if you try to force me to do something or change my language or get mad at me for messing up, right? Or whatever it is. So like if somebody doesn't present, for example, with the trans thing, if somebody doesn't present as female, but wants me to call them a female, that's going to be very difficult for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be very hard because my brain is not going to do that. So that's where I have the issue where it becomes a forced sort of compelled speech thing where now I have to live inside of your reality, even though it doesn't line up with my reality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you mean there. And I think there's limits to this. And what I mean by that is, what I say is, suppose I have a friend who hates the word turtle. It just like sends fear into his mind. He just gets anxious the second he hears the word turtle, right? He tells me this, and he tells me that it deeply offends him when he hears that word. Is it really that hard for me to watch out saying that if I know he's in my presence?
Not going to stop talking about the Ninja Turtles, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, if you are the one who has the anxiety, who has the issue, then that has to do with you. My thing is, you can't expect everybody, and this is the same for me, and I apply this to myself too. I cannot expect everybody to align with my worldview. If I have if somebody wants me to say Z-Wisers or whatever, I'm not going to do that. But at the same time, right, I can't expect them to not refer to themselves that way. If they want to refer... Go ahead.
To kind of answer your point, it's kind of like for example, like I like the LGBT lifestyle, like based on my beliefs, like I don't agree with their lifestyle, right? It's kind of like if I were to go to FGC events and like call out trans people for living a certain way. It's like, that's not realistic. I can't do that. I can only I have a belief where I may disagree with their lifestyle, but it's kind of like me expecting them to cater to me because it offends me.
Yeah,
and
you're
like,
also
I would never
not
do
telling
that.
them
ridiculous.
to live your lifestyle. That's the thing. That's what it is. I don't want somebody to tell me to live a certain way. And if you're telling me to think and speak a certain way about something, then you're telling me to live a certain way. Right? And so that's the thing. Saying. I agree with that. Like the dude that you're dealing with, that's just unnecessary. There was no reason for him to do that. That being said, you can't expect everybody to get it, especially like when you're in that position. We're talking about trans people specifically. When you're in that position, you can't expect everybody to get it, man. Some people are just not going to get it.
I actually have a question for Frank. So like, you tell me if you agree with this, right? So like kind of the whole end goal with this podcast and just kind of like just talking about these things is like, I'd like to go back to a place kind of like around like 2010 FGC where like if two people had a problem with each other at an event, So as long as there is no violence, they settle it between each other like adults.
Right. Exactly.
And I don't know how you guys deal with it in your local, and you tell me if you agree with that.
Yeah, so I agree with that, and that's part of what I wanted to bring up the next thing when it comes to settling things like adults. Another thing you guys mentioned that I don't agree with, and this isn't just a you thing, this is the other people as well.
Okay.
There's this huge idea that everyone's on Twitter, right? Like, granted, I found you guys on Twitter, right? Because people were blowing you up, but there's this huge idea that all of the FGC is on Twitter, and that's something I don't like, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk about handling things, people handle things on Twitter and they think that everyone's there, so everyone sees it, so it's entirely resolved. But I have friends who actively don't use social media, but they want to play fighting games. One example of this is Skullgirls, right? If you're familiar with a lot of the drama that happened around there,
with Sonic Fox?
With Mike Z.
Oh, with Mike Z, right.
So you have like the flack of,
because that was, I guess that's two dramas then.
right. It's I guess it's combined drama, but there's the idea of people who didn't want to play that game or whatnot, right?
Yeah.
Because of who he was, right? And this is talked about all on Twitter.
Yeah.
But I had another friend who played the game, and people hit him with the joke like, "Oh, you still play that game after what Mike Z did?" And his response was, "Who's Mike Z?"
Yeah. No, I hear you. I honestly don't think, like, I'm going to tell you my personal take on that. I think that people are a little sensitive. I think that sometimes when you bring levity to a situation, the purpose is to try to get people to like calm down about it. And I think that a lot of people didn't really realize that was kind of his intention. And I think it got blown out of way blown out of proportion. That being said, I don't play Skullgirls. Right. That being said, I don't play Skullgirls. So even when like the Sonic Fox thing happened in it, and like people were like, "Why is Sonic Fox in the game?" I was like, I don't care about this. I don't play this game. But it's fun for the people who get to play it. And I don't think that, like, dude, it's the same thing of like, I still listen to like, I'll listen to whether or not you believe anything, whatever. People still listen to Michael Jackson. Right,
I listen to Michael Jackson,
and it's because he's the shit. Because the music is the shit, but that has nothing to do with like whether or not I personally, have my own beliefs about whatever happened there. But whether or not you believe he did whatever he did, that doesn't change the fact that people still listen to his music.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And
that's the same concept.
And that's a little bit different just because he's such a big thing and he was on the news and everything.
For sure.
But I get what you mean.
But like within the FGC, right?
Yeah, within the FGC. My whole point here is when it comes to handling things, I do not like how it's just determined that it's all on Twitter. Like, who determines that? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, when it comes to my local and my events, it's like, we'll talk, whatever. But like some of these people sit in Discord all day, wait till the weekly ping.
I like Discord way better. Yeah,
they wait till there's a weekly ping that says like, oh, there's gonna be an event, and then like they go.
That's exactly what I do.
So and then like when they show up, and we're fortunate enough to have an arcade, right? So there's just like machines, right? And it's like, when it's time to play, when you go to put your card on the reader and get it scanned, there's not a dude who's going to block the card reader and be like, "You sure you want to play this, man?
Have
you heard about what's happening?"
Yeah, right.
That's not gonna happen. Right. So that's why I'm saying
I like that. That's so funny. Right? Yeah, I like
that. So when I mentioned like, how you guys feel is that's something I would have liked to see at you guys as well, is just like, there's Twitter, and that's where kind of the action's at, right? And that's where the viewership, and you mentioned strategies, and you guys have a platform, so do your thing, right? But one thing I just wanted to put in the mind of everyone who's even watching this, just always remember that like it's not just Twitter.
For sure.
That's where we spend a lot of time, especially because of COVID. We spend a lot of time there.
Yeah.
But like I think too many people get caught up in what they see on Twitter. Like, and that's why I hate when people say like there's issues with this and there's issues with that, because I'm not saying those issues don't exist. But what I am saying is, just like multiple people have said, is online versus IRL, the interactions are just not the same.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
Some of these people aren't going to talk that crazy to you.
Oh,
and some
absolutely.
of these, and you're not going to talk as crazy to them. Like, it's
absolutely.
Just, it is what it is. So it drives me crazy that like, why are we, and then what I hate, because I'm trying to grow the FGC, right, is outsiders who don't know anything about the FGC, when they look in to Twitter and that's what they see, that's where they think it's all at.
Right.
So that's where they think it is all at. And that's what bothers
that was
me.
one of our main problems with the Vice documentary, presenting the stuff that the way it did, because it's not even you have a really good point, but it's not even just Twitter. It's like the esports wing is trying to make the FGC look like it's one thing. So like you have this Vice documentary, and like half of the documentary is about like racial or something, or like binary justice or whatever it is, and it's like, what does this have to do with the FGC? People are going to see this. This was Silos's point, actually. What you just said. He said, if people are going to see this and think this is what the FGC is about, and that's messed up. You know what I mean? Like, when we have, I mean, I completely agree with what you're saying, but there is a collective, and we believe that it might like get worse with like Sony buying Evo and all this kind of stuff, because it's very corporate, very going one direction that they think is selling. That's what the FGC, or at least like it's going to be perceived as, and it might turn people who are like us, might be getting into fighting games, it might turn them off from even going to tournaments or things like that.
Yeah, and that's why I say I disagree with that stuff, right? And the only area where I'm saying I disagree with you guys is, I think, just kind of taking shots at people. And you mentioned your logic, you do your thing, but you said that if you disagreed with it, come on. So that's what I came here to do.
Yeah.
The other thing is that you guys give me a chance to talk. I could go on these other platforms where these people are doing it, and I could say, I don't like how, we talk about these things, but do I think that those issues that are presented are important? Mm-hmm. Unlike you guys on some of these things, I do. Mm-hmm. I believe that these things are important, and there are certain issues that I want to help resolve. Mm-hmm. And I do that in my own way. Mm-hmm. But, and I don't mix that into my FGC thing. And then people say, well, these
there you go.
issues are a part of the FGC. And really, we're just a slice of society.
Yeah, facts.
So
facts.
That's also what I don't like.
That's a really good way to think about it.
Yeah, I really don't like how it's presented as if like we're our own thing. Like, no, it's like we're just a part of society, man. So I'm aware that if, because I subscribe to some of these issues these social issues that I would like to see solved. I subscribe to the belief that there are issues and there are ways to solve them, but I don't think that matters when it comes to putting quarters in slots.
Yeah. Because so I will mention, I don't think that there are no issues. Obviously there are issues. I think the way that we perceive them is probably different, right?
Yeah.
That being said, I want to go back to your point about Twitter really quick, because so from my experience, so I used to go to FGC events in California. Then I moved out of California, and that was last year, right before COVID. And I literally I live in Washington now. Actually in an area where we have a representative who signed off on the FGC code of conduct, but which is a different conversation. But so I got here, and I was gonna go to my first local. They were supposed to do locals on Wednesdays, and then everything got canceled, and we haven't had a local since. So I have not been to a local in over a year, and that's COVID and all that stuff. So everything turned into just Twitter and online.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
No one has been to a local. And this is another one of my huge gripes that I talk about with my friends all the time, is people say that there's all these things, right? And people talk about all these things. They try to bring up all these topics. And all my question is what is going to happen when we finally get back to playing these games? Yeah. When we get back, there's a lot of people that have had to convert their lifestyle into becoming content creators or doing some other thing to stay active, or whatever they want to do. And what's funny is I think a lot of that is going to stop when we get back to the real focus. Because a lot of people are just keeping their eyes locked, waiting to see when it's time to do things. So we're on Twitter, and that's the perfect place for us to, hit you with all these other issues. But if I can have it my way, what's going to happen is things are going to open back up, and I'm just going to check on Saturday, go to wherever I can see tournament postings. Is there a tournament? Like when is Combo Breaker? When is Frosty? When am I buying my flight? That's what I'm focused on. I'm gonna go back to labbing the matchup.
That's kind of what we're all doing right now. I mean, I'm in the middle of kind of a game transition right now. I started playing Soul Calibur a little bit, but then King of Fighters and Guilty Gear comes out. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm hopefully we can get back to locals before then.
Yeah.
But that's kind of been the issue. I think you even mentioned it. COVID kind of just made everything turn into online, and magnified a lot of stuff.
Yeah, COVID magnified a lot of stuff, and it changed people's things. So, the area, like I said, I think I've got my point across, and, thank you for your time and your guys' responses. But really, when I say I don't want y'all to stop doing what you're doing, I would like if you just, like I said, and you do your thing, whether you take my advice or not. I just think it would benefit you to, you guys got your own tactics, but this is my stance. I think it would benefit you to be less aggressive in the way you target people and less insulting. Like, for instance, the last guy you had on, he kept calling people assholes and idiots, and it's like, I get it, man. Like that's what you want to say, but it's like, when you do
but
that,
see, we didn't do that.
Yeah, you guys didn't.
We don't do that. We don't actually attack people. We attack their ideas. I want people to make sure they understand the difference.
So people might need to understand the difference. That's true. I guess, and if that's what you're going to force on people, I mean, good luck. But when you're attacking their ideas and you say that their ideas are like, so fucking stupid and like they're retarded, it's like, sorry for the R word there, but it's like, like
don't care, don't worry.
Yeah.
I know you guys don't care, but that's an example of what I mean is, when I say stuff like that or target someone, like, oh yeah, you guys are assholes the way you treat people. And, like, I don't think that makes me any better because now you want to say, oh, we're not assholes. And now
that's an issue with the person attaching themselves to their idea. So the reason we have ideas is so that we can change them, right? It's the same thing with like you die in a video game, you come back, right? So like your ideas can die and you can live and grow and become a better person.
Yeah.
If somebody tells you your ideas are stupid and then you examine them and realize that they're stupid, then maybe you can become a better person. I think that like people need to stop thinking that they are their ideas. Once we stop doing that, then people will be able to differentiate. So we had somebody on the last episode where we the same episode you're talking about with Black 16. We're gonna have to wrap it up because the Zoom is gonna
I see the timer.
But
I'll let you guys carry on if you guys wanted to talk
the last
more
point
about
here was is that we had the guy talking about we talked about the guy who was talking about the Smash Brothers mod or whatever. And somebody kept being like, oh, you're attacking this person. And he's not even there to do it. I was like, no. We're attacking his ideas. We're attacking his idea about why he thinks it's wrong to put a boob mod in the game. I think that's dumb. And I think that if you post things on the internet, people are going to criticize you. People have been criticizing us like crazy, taking us out of context, all that stuff.
Because that's the main thing, right? Is that like we don't have a problem with people calling us assholes and retards. Like we don't really
right.
Yeah,
you guys
that's kind of our thing. Like, that's fine. That's what people do when you get mad at each other.
Right. Like you guys don't care. And that's what I'm saying is suppose someone told you that they did care. I think out of respect, you could try. But as you mentioned before in one of my comments, you said respect is it's earned. That's what you said. But the thing is that, someone else had mentioned is like, that doesn't mean if there's some person you've never met, you're going to actively disrespect them.
Yeah, of course not. But that doesn't disrespect and respecting someone are not the same thing. Respect is something that you get from like I said, it's earned. But if going out of your way to be rude, or disrespect that person as an individual is different than like having some sort of like a granted monicum of respect. I think that what we deserve is couth, tact, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Right? Meaning like I'm not gonna insult you if you had got on this Zoom call and you had said, hey, what's up? And I said, hey, fuck you, dude, you're a fucking dick.
Right.
Why would that's ridiculous. Of course that's disrespect, right? But like that's not the same thing as like now you come on here, like I'm not going to say that I didn't respect you before, but like I have respect for you now because you came on the show and you've talked to us about your ideas.
Yeah,
it's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
so I think that people merge. I know I mucked up the way that I was talking about that, but I think that people merge those concepts a little bit too much.
Yeah,
and they don't really understand the difference. But we're at a minute, so
we're at a minute. So there's one last thing.
Let everybody know where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter, the place where apparently only people exist. Because you won't find me at Arcade UFO in Austin. But it's at Deforman19.
Okay.
And one last thing I wanted to say, if I could really
quick.
Oh, sorry. You shouldn't fight fire with fire. You should fight fire with water. I know it rhymes, but don't say it. Just don't do that way.
And you can find me at youtube.com/LokesTakes. Or switch.tv/Mr. Behavior and Silos.
Twitch.tv/Silos or youtube.com/Silos.
And this has been the Anti-Oki Podcast. Thank you, Blåshphęmöûsblk, for coming on. And peace out.
They say you must defeat shit along to stand a chance, but homie, you're dead wrong. just take a glance. Attack me if you dare, son, I will crush you. I'll crack your back, you should be scared, son, I'll bust you. Just go home and be a family man. If not, I'm gonna have to destroy your anatomy, man. It's natural for someone like me to be the world's strongest, because I'm honest, just being honest. I astonish, my
Sonic Boom
flash kicks are right here waiting for you. Wanna get your ass kicked for your plastic. Your kung fu is weak and mine is chic and spastic. Fantastic, you're not a warrior, you're just a beginner. Get up, wimp, and bask in the glory of a winner. My strength is much greater than yours. I'm a street fighting legend, the creator of wars. No use debating the score, I've waited patiently for someone to pound through the ground. I'll smash your face in the floor. You've lost, dog, I'm the boss, you can't compare with my powers. I play this game for the fame, they claim the hundreds of hours.
Listen, listen, it's a tournament edition. Challenging me, it's just like pissing in the wind. Doing KO since I was 1 day old. Keep on wishing, man, cause no, you'll never win. Yo, listen, listen, it's a tournament edition. Challenging me, it's just like pissing in the wind. Doing KO since I was 1 day old. Keep on wishing, man, cause no, you'll never win. No need to worry, a state of euphoria. I won the tourney twice, now I am the world warrior. Using my kung fu to destroy you. Flurry of kicks which only your performer hard to. Ken's a competitor, write you out like an editor. Stay ahead of the pack, flame attack like a predator. I ain't stretching the truth, my dull Sims the tightest. I'll leave you burnt to a crisp with elephantitis. Need to charge up to bite, scrap attack with Blanca. Yo, I'm warming up my engines when you lose to Honda. There's no doubt my win count will haunt ya. Wanna try and win again? Well, after this you won't want to. Every street fight is better the second time around. I've learned how to throw down, I'm KO bound. Do I punch light or medium? No, I punch hard, because I'm pretty sure I just kicked and blew up a car. Yo, you're looking like vomit, I busted suplex atomic. I fill the room with the boom that sounds supersonic. Tiger flame so feisty, uppercut so nicely. Sagat will brew you up a batch of Mai Tai iced tea. Listen, listen, it's a tournament edition. Challenging me, it's just like pissing in the wind. Doing KO since I was 1 day old. Keep on wishing, man, cause no, you'll never win. Yo, listen, listen, it's a tournament edition. Challenging me, it's just like pissing in the wind. Doing KO since I was 1 day old. Keep on wishing, man.